Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, the Honorable Miss Hilma, and good morning, everyone. We are from Group 9, consists of me, Arina Wijanisi, and my partner, Arif Khairullah. In this opportunity, we would like to present about ethnography and ethnomethodology. Now, let's start with the outline. Yeah, we will to present about definition of ethnography. The second is varieties of thought. The third is Telham speaking framework, and the last is ethnomethodology. Now let's talk about definition of ethnography. Ethnography is a study in social linguistics which examines interaction patterns and social life in society. According to Hobbes 2013, ethnography is an approach to analyzing language which has been designed to heighten awareness of culture-bound assumption. Jadi, etnografi itu mempelajari bagaimana bahasa digunakan dalam konteks sosial tertentu dan bagaimana variasi bahasa terkait dengan budaya, identitas, dan struktur sosial. Now, moving on varieties of talk. There are varieties of talk in various countries. The first is the Kung of Southwest Africa. According to Marshall, 1961, they use speech to maintain social harmony, focusing on topics like food and gift-giving, and they avoid certain subjects like naming gods or discussing sexual matters, and have different forms of talk for resolving dispute, reducing tension, and expressing deprivation. Jadi, suku Kung lebih memilih diam untuk menyelesaikan perselisihan atau mengurangi ketegangan. And the second is the Western Apache of Arizona. According to Baso, 1962, they use silence during uncertain situations such as meeting strangers, grieving, or dealing with ambiguity in relationship. Silence is seen as respectful and appropriate in many social contexts like returning from boarding schools or during courtship. Jadi sedang orang Apache ini, masyarakat Apache ini lebih memilih diam kalau kita ketemu stranger atau kita tuh menempatkan diri gitu loh. Karena diam itu dianggap menghormati atau sopan ya. Silence in other society. As Gardner, 1966, has observed among the Polynesians of South India and the Aritama of Colombia, silence is common as the societies are less focused on cooperation and competition. Silence is also valued among Chinese who appreciate sitting together in silence without feeling the need to talk. Jadi, masyarakat Pulian dan masyarakat Aritama itu udah common sama silence. Jadi tuh mereka tuh kayak jarang saingan gitu ya. Jadi tuh ya udah diem itu nggak apa-apa. Dan di Denmark pun kalau kita nongkrong ya udah diem-dieman nggak apa-apa, nggak ada yang pengen diomongin gitu loh. And next is cultures that embrace talk. In contrast, Fox 1974 describes in Indonesia, silence is interpreted as a sign of some kind of distress, possibly confusion or dejection. Relate kan? Jadi di Indonesia itu diem itu biasanya merepresentasikan kalau kita tuh bingung atau sedih gitu kan. Kayak misal kita ditanya sama guru, kadang pun ada yang mau ditanyakan padahal kita tuh mau nanya, tapi tuh kita diem aja karena kita tuh bingung mau nanya kayak gimana gitu kan. Now let's talk about Archeans. Jadi in addition, the Bella Club of British Columbia state that among the Arconians of chill value, the men take great pride in their oratorical skills, but women maintain silence in the presence of their husband. Jadi laki-laki itu boleh ngomong atau boleh banyak ngomong, tapi kalau wanita itu disarankan untuk diam gitu, kayak untuk menghormati suaminya bisa jadi gitu. And the last is Antigua and the Subanin of the Philippines. In Antigua, race 9, 1964, Page 113 states conversation is spontaneous and mixed with other activities with little regard for interruption. While the Subanen used tricking talk in competition social encounters to gain prestige and settle disputes, making this form of talk crucial for leadership and conflict resolution. Jadi orang Subanen itu lebih milih minum-minum sambil ngobrol, kebalikannya dari orang Denmark tadi ya. And now let's talk about the ethnography of speaking. Okay, the ethnography of speaking. Hans 1974 has proposed an ethnographic framework which takes into account the various factors that are involved in acronym speaking. In addition, according to Hans 1974, a slide in Warda 2006, page 147, an ethnography of a communicated event is a description of all the factors that are relevant in understanding how that particular communicated event achieves its objectives. In addition, according to Johnston 2004, page 76, ethnography presupposes that the best explanation of human behavior are particular and culturally relative rather than general and universal. In addition, according to Hazen 2002, page 153, the cultural identity of speakers should be considered for both large-scale study of social factors and more ethnographic study of individual speakers. So, ethnography is to attempt to describe the different function of language in communication. Jadi, ethnography speaking menurut Dalhams ini tuh pendekatan sosiolinguistik yang meneliti bagaimana penggunaan bahasa dipengaruhi oleh latar sosial dan budaya. Dan juga menekankan bahwa bahasa itu harus dipahami dalam konteks kehidupan sehari-hari, di mana norma budaya, peran sosial, dan situasi itu memengaruhi cara dan alasan orang berkomunikasi. Dengan demikian, pendekatan ini menunjukkan bahwa makna komunikasi bergantung pada konteks sosialnya. Okay, now let's talk about Dalhams speaking framework in acronym speaking. There is setting and scene for S, refers to time and place. For example, at home, in classroom, in university, and etc. And the second is P for participant, refers to the roles of speaker and listener. For example, teacher and student, mother and daughter, owner and customer, and etc. And the next is E for ends, refers to the goals of communication. For example, to teach something, to plan an event, and so on. Jadi ini tuh tujuan atau hasil yang ingin dicapai dalam komunikasi. And the next is A for sequence, refers to content and flow. Jadi ini tuh struktur dan urutan pesan. Kayak sekarang nih saya presentasi, saya pertama greeting dulu ke Mem Hilma, ke kalian semua, baru saya jelasin tujuan saya ini tuh mau presentasi materi ini, terus saya jelasin satu-satu topiknya gitu. And the next is K for key, refers to the tone and spirit. Jadi ini tuh nada bicara, contohnya tuh kayak pembicaranya serius kah, sarkas kah, atau lagi bercanda kah gitu. Now I for instrumentalities, refers to the channel and language. Maksudnya tuh pilihan bahasa ya, jadi kayak language choice-nya, dialeknya, dan saluran komunikasi tuh channel tuh maksudnya kayak apakah pembicaranya tuh dilakukan secara written or spoken, atau lisan atau tulisan gitu. Terus ada in for norms, refers to the expected behaviors or norms in society. Jadi kayak aturan sosial atau norma sosial gitu loh. kayak tadi yang udah dijelasin kan dari varieties of talk. Jadi kayak ngomong itu buat apa, diem itu artinya apa gitu kan. Jadi kayak mengatur norma-normanya, bukan mengatur sih, kayak norma-norma yang ada di culture-nya tuh apa. Kayak misal diem untuk kesopanan, oh berarti kan kalau itu normanya ya udah diem gitu. Kayak misal diem itu emas gitu, mungkin itu jadi normanya. Atau kayak tadi di Indonesia kalau diem itu biasanya merepresentasikan kebingungan gitu loh gitu. Terus ada G for general, refers to type of speech. Ini tuh kayak jenisnya, misal interview, emang conversation, atau pidato, atau debat, atau lagi bercerita atau dongeng, atau lagi berdoa. Kayak misal kayaknya ibadah di mana, di gereja atau di lainnya tuh pasti ada kayak ngomongnya kan, atau doa kan diucapkan gitu. So speaking formula is a very necessary reminder that talk is complex activity and that any particular bit of talk is actually a piece of skilled work. Oke, nanti saya kasih contoh-contohnya kayak etnografi secara general dan etnografi speaking di learning session. And the next materi talk about ethnomethodology will present by Arif Khairullah.
Okay, so I will explain about ethnomethodology. According to Wardau, ethnomethodology focuses on understanding how people use everyday language to construct and interpret social reality. According to Leiter, the aim of ethnomethodology is to study the process of sense-making that members of society use to construct the social world and its factual properties. According to Fairclough, ethnomethodologists are interested in the process and techniques that people use to interpret the world around them and to interact with that world. They focus on the phenomena of everyday existence, actually on various bits and pieces of it, in an attempt to show how those who must deal with such bits and pieces go about doing so. Then we got 3 points here. So the first point is that ethnomethodology focused on how in that use of language people employ common sense knowledge and practical reasoning. The second point is that common sense knowledge refers to a variety of things. It is the understandings, recipes, maxims, and definitions that we employ in daily living as we go about doing things. The third point is that practical reasoning refers to the way in which people make use of their common sense knowledge and to how they employ that knowledge in their conduct of everyday life. And let's go through some of the examples here. The first example: a number of people in a rural tribe in Liberia in West Africa were presented with the following problem. All people who own houses pay a house tax. Boima doesn't pay a house tax. Does Boima own a house? So, in this example, it is actually as a logic puzzle. So according to the problem, in Western societies, where formal logic and abstract reasoning are emphasized, most people would quickly apply a deductive rule. If all people who own houses pay a house tax and Boima doesn't pay a house tax, then Boima doesn't own a house. This conclusion relies on formal logic and an understanding of conditional reasoning. However, members of the Liberian tribe might not solve this in the same way. Ethnomethodologists like Scribner found that cultural context, experience, and local reasoning norms can shape how individuals interpret such problems. Rather than applying abstract logical reasoning, they might respond by drawing on practical knowledge or question the relevance or assumptions of the problem. For example, they might say they don't know whether Boima owns a house, or they might interpret the problem differently based on their understanding of local practices and the meanings associated with houses and taxes. Now let's go to the second example. In part of one reported conversation between a husband and wife, the wife's question, "Did you take our son to the record store?" leads to the following exchange with her husband. So, in this example, the dialogue is not purely about words, but it is deeply intertwined with shared understandings, assumptions, and expectations. Here's a closer look at the exchange. The first, wife's question, "Did you take him to the record store?" The wife is asking if the husband took their son to a specific place, which in this case is the record store. However, there's an underlying assumption that taking their son somewhere involves a purposeful trip to the record store. Second, the husband's response, "No, to the shoe repair shop." While the husband responds directly to the question with no, he provides additional information. They actually went to the shoe repair shop instead of the record store. There's an implied understanding that his route had stops for different purposes. His response could also be interpreted as correcting a misunderstanding. Third, the wife's follow-up question, "What for?" The wife's question, "What for?" indicates that she has some knowledge about the shoe repair shop's significance in their lives. She could be implicitly asking, "Did you go for the specific reason I have in mind, or another reason?" She is inviting clarification, drawing on shared knowledge about what might have been needed at the shop. Fourth, husband's response, "I got some new laces for my shoes." The husband's response gives context and elaborates on his purpose. He assumes his wife remembers a specific detail about his broken shoelace and provides this as background for why he went to the repair shop. Fifth, wife's comment, "Your loafers need new heels badly." The wife introduces additional information, highlighting a shared concern that his loafers also need repair. Her comment might serve as a reminder or a nudge to attend to this task soon. In this exchange, each remark is built on shared context, knowledge of each other's habits, and implied meanings that don't need to be fully stated. So basically, if you see the sentences that highlighted with blue colors, that's basically their thoughts. Okay, let's go to the conclusion. All things considered, ethnographies help us see how different cultures use language to reflect their values and keep social connections strong. Delheim's framework breaks down communication into key parts like setting and participants, showing us how language works in different contexts. Ethnomethodology looks at how people use common knowledge to make sense of their daily lives. Together, these approaches show that language is crucial for understanding and maintaining our social interactions and cultural practices. Thank you so much for everybody. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.